A Jewish guy and a Chinese guy are sitting in the bar when all of a sudden the Jewish guy walks over and punches the Chinese guy in the face. What did the dude that deleted his comment say? I wanna laugh at how stupid he must be to get all of those downvotes. A rabbi told me this joke. This joke is older than the Great Wall of It was made great again. A Chinese man walks into a bar and sits beside a white guy. Just as he starts drinking beer, the white man says, "Hey pal, do you know Kung Fu?" The Chinese replies, "Why? Is it 'cause I'm Chinese?" "No, it's 'cause you're drinking my fucking beer." Thank you to Balsant the Hole. I'm pretty sure it was the Germans that bombed Pearl Harbor. How is this inclusive and offensive at the same time? A gallon of gasoline is cheaper than a gallon of Gatorade. Depending on where you live, a gallon of gasoline is cheaper than a bottle of Gatorade. A gallon of gasoline is also cheaper than a gallon of bull semen. Yeah, but you don't buy 15 gallons of Gatorade at once. Actually, I'm off to Costco. Not if you buy the powdered Gatorade. They're both more expensive now than they were 3 years ago. This is why I prefer to get my Gatorade straight from the tits of the gator. There's many more plants than cars. Rocks outnumber cats. If I go to Costco, Gatorade works out to approx. $1.67 per here is currently $6.33 per gallon. Sorry, your math BWOY off for this region anyway. A genie appears and offers a golfer 3 wishes. Wouldn't her heart attack just be 10 times milder? I think his third wish was for someone to post this joke on Reddit. Since his wife got the same wish 10 times, this is the 10th time it is being posted here. Isn't his wife now the world's richest man? It says wife, not ex-wife. Why would her having 10 times the money of the richest man in the world be a bad thing? The last line should be now beat me half to death. More wholesome punchline for my last wish. I wish I was the most beautiful person both inside and out. When I heard the joke, his wife got double and he wished to be beaten half to death. A lawyer calls up a plumber to come out to his house. A car mechanic is called to someone's place because their car won't start. He looks at it, tries to start it, then opens the hood, grabs a hammer, hits one spot, tries again, and then the car starts. This will be $150, sir, the mechanic says. What? $150 for one hammer hit? The man complains, no. The hammer hit was $30. Knowing where to hit is $120. A man and a woman meet in a programming class. Suddenly, man touches the woman's breast. Women, hey, they are private. Sounds like he's treating her like an object. For all non-programmers, you can declare variables or properties as private, so no other part of a program can access it. It is only accessible by methods and objects of the same class, a usually small piece of the program, which has one function. Great joke, maybe try our programmer to jokes. Makes sense. I share a namespace with a breasts object, but I'm still not allowed direct access. But I thought we were friends. This is one of those cases where one can only use a pointer to breasts. This must have been in Java and not in Python. Then he showed her his Python. A man goes home to his wife after being fired from his job at a chips factory. I phoned the wife earlier and asked if she wanted me to pick up fish and chips on the way home, but she just grunted at me. I think she still regrets letting me name the twins. It's a fallacy. His wife wasn't surprised. She was pickled. Nice. I think I heard this first as pickle slicer. I think it gives it a bit more staying power since it gives you the mental imagery of a penis in a pickle jar. Big fan of yes, everything is fine with the penis. I think she worked at the golf course previously as the ball cleaner. A man sees a sign outside a house talking greyhound for sale. A young man is walking in the park when he sees an old man seated at a table playing chess with a dog. The young man stops in his tracks as he watches the dog contemplate a move and then slide the piece into the appropriate square. Amazed, he blurts out, "That's incredible, your dog knows how to play chess," old man says. "He's not that incredible, son. I've won 4 of the last 5 matches." A man's wife dies young. Refers to the blanket, often of flowers, that is laid over it to me to call a pall over your attempt at humor. This is unrelated, but I was reminded of coffin flop on Corncop TV. I wish this joke would have died young. Number 768. I do not get it. This joke is appalling. The pallbearers must have had a frightening experience. Would never go to BOLL. 40 years of humiliation is enough. Ha ha ha, that's a good one. Didn't that happen at Bedminster, NJ? Maybe sounds better in another language. A person calling someone an NPC is simply stating they lack the empathy to see their humanity. Kinda true. Of course, you shouldn't take everything you see on the internet at face value. However, I feel like people online tend to see each other as if they were one-dimensional caricatures. Did someone call you an NPC? Maybe you should go on more quests. Or they know who took an arrow to the knee. It's just the modern way to call someone a sheeple. It's I'm the only one in the room with an original thoughts or clayerk for the generation who grew up on video games. Such an NPC thing to say. Props to the dialogue writers. Pretty sure it's just a flippant statement to poke fun at people for one-dimensional behavior lol. Accidental joke just happened. I laugh at my own jokes all the time. Sometimes I'm the only one laughing. My wife thinks her jokes are hilarious. I never tell her I'm laughing at her instead of her jokes. Not in a bad way. It's actually cute and funny. She doesn't deserve you. She was giving you the cold shoulder. But that's cool, we all scream for ice cream. 'Tis el comedian that can't laugh at his own jokes. William Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet act for scene 2. Keep playing jokes on your wife and it could one day mean a rocky road to divorce court. Adam tells God he's really lonely on earth alone. Beck and call. I'll show myself out. God promised bountiful harvests and beautiful, intelligent, loyal partners in every corner of the earth. Then he made it round, and he laughed. And he laughed. And he laughed. Beckon. A dad joke from the first father. I would have traded my appendix. What's the joke? I don't get it. Yeah, gonna tell that to my. An anti-establishment joke from India. Mahatma Gandhi was visiting Queen Elizabeth at Buckingham to her riding in a horse-drawn carriage, when suddenly the overwhelming stench of manure flooded over them both. Queen Elizabeth tells him, "Oh my goodness, I'm so terribly sorry about that," says. "Don't worry about it. I actually thought it was the horse." Mahatma Gandhi often walked barefoot, which produced an impressive set of calluses on his feet. He also ate very little, making him rather frail, and with his odd diet he often suffered from bad breath. This made him a super calloused, fragile mystic hexed with halitosis. Side-to-side head jiggling intensifies. I know a Kuswin Singh joke when I see one. An explorer was hacking a path deep into an almost impenetrable rainforest. I genuinely thought this was somehow going to be a dick joke. I think the Rainforest Cafe takes the whole rainforest theme to month. I was sitting there, eating my chicken tenders, and they bulldozed 40 of the restaurant. This reminds me of a documentary I saw in about the 7th grade, where they followed some bushmen in the Kalahari taking down a giraffe. 4 days until it was too exhausted to run anymore. Then they surrounded it and took turns throwing spears at it and dodging its kicks, until it finally expired and felt like they had cut down a tree. Can someone explain like I'm 5? Were they on strike? An old man walks into a church. Did I ever tell you about the worst blowjob I ever received? X to OB. It was great. Ah, good old 413. A man sees an old man crying on a park bench. He goes over to him and asks him what's wrong. I just got married to a 25-year-old woman. She's a yoga instructor. She's incredibly beautiful. Ever since we got married, all we do is make love and eat the gourmet food that she cooks for us. That sounds pretty great. Why are you crying? I forgot where I live. Cannot blame him. Ask straight guys, how would you feel if a gay male stranger suddenly told you, "You are hot AF"? I would turn to my girlfriend and say, "I told you so." I'm just gonna quote a meme I saw about this. As a straight guy, getting hit on by a gay dude is like receiving a ton of money in the wrong currency. I can't do anything with it right now, but if I ever cross the border, I'll be one lucky guy. Seriously though, it'd be very flattering, even if I can't reciprocate the feeling. Remember what I'm wearing and wear that exact outfit every time I head out. I would be flattered and awkwardly thank them. Cheating didn't get more commonplace. Technology made it easier to get caught and divorce stigma fizzled out. Known thing that husbands slipped every now and then. And wives were supposed to just not make a public fuss about it and keep the marriage going. Private grudges, of course, were very much allowed. Hell, I'm my father's other son. Except my mom decided not to live that way and broke it up and moved us away. ECT, I recall the 70s, 80s. Cheating was the norm. Caught mom, dad both with others. My mom took my weed and invited her girlfriend over. I heard noise from living room and mom WS on ground with her DF. Getting fat is a blast. Being fat is awful. Phew, as a fat person, it was not a blast getting here. It was years of self-hatred, depression, anxiety, and guilt. Feel bad, eat to kill the pain. Feel guilty, hate self more, eat to kill the pain, and so on. What's really awful is being old and fat. When you're young, you can still get around while buying fat. I finally realized this and lost a bunch of weight. Now I'm just old. Still awful, not as much though. How are single-income households surviving in this economy? Barely. I don't have kids. Even if I wanted them in the slightest, there's no way I could afford them. So I guess that's the secret. Old, well-maintained cars, home-cooked food, eating out only once a week, clothes used for years. One subscription service at a time, condoms. We aren't. $100 at the store doesn't buy shit anymore. I'm single with no children. How did your genetics fuck you over? I'm BRCA to positive, giving me roughly 74 chances of developing an incurable genetic breast cancer in my life. It also gives me about 22 of having an ovarian cancer. On the other side, double mastectomy lowers my chances to about 3. but it should ideally be done before I reach 30. I will also need a hysterectomy in my 40s. I had 50-50 chance of getting the BRCA gene mutation so well. Genetics did fuck me over. Bum ticker dad's aorta exploded when I was 11 and my brother died from second heart at 41. Just hoping to see my 60s. Poor eyesight, bad knees, mental illness. All hail scoliosis. Husband and wife. It is hard to find children of that caliber. I haven't seen that one before. Good job. Love those silly jokes. Joke waited until literally the last word. Great one. I'll never forget the day my parents told me I was yours. It just felt like something was amiss and we didn't have a true connection. I told them, "This is incredible. When do I get to meet my biological parents?" Said, "We are your biological parents. Now pack your things. Your new ones will be here in half an hour." That loyal son of a gun made me giggle. Thank you. I am a special constable at University of Toronto. Ask me anything. How much authority do you actually hold on campus? In the US, they are basically full police officers, as far as I know. I noticed you used both sides of the same sheet of paper. Was that done due to budget constraints or environmental concerns? What frustrates you most on your job? How do you feel about the fact that this is apparently necessary? Not a single university in my country has or needs anything like this. Can you tell us about a funny or interesting incident as a special constable you were involved in? What makes you so special? How can I quickly get from Union to U of T Rotman? Do you have your own jail, or do you hand perpetrators off to the city county? I told my wife I absolutely love Worcestershire sauce. She asked what's so special about it. If you think Worcestershire sauce is so great, wait until you try Leicestershire sauce. As seemingly the only English person here, it's Worcestershire sauce. Watch your sister sauce. It's actually a Cajun sauce. It was invented in a Louisiana kitchen, and when another chef tried it, he said to the first chef, "We host this here sauce." You can say that again. In Spanish, we just call it English sauce. They say that the word goodbye is the hardest word to say, but it's not. It's Worcestershire. Fresh cut grass. Hendo's is better. It's easy to say. Worcestershire sauce. If smoking weed is a sin. Cough, cough. CIA there, bud. If smoking weed is a sin, then is smoking weed with a friend a co-sin? This joke is all sticks and seeds. I want my money back. Devil's S always smoke. That's awesome. Exhaling the sin. This post shows up in my browser history, though I don't remember reading it, but it loaded right up, so I'm thinking it must have been cached. If smoking weed is a sin, then I'll be a monkey's uncle. At least you're having a good time. It'll be a blazing inferno, a highway to hell. Forgive me, Father, for I have baked. I'm an American and I hate it when people say the USA is the stupidest country in the world. Alaska not to Texas on the main line. Juneau their capital. You can see Russia from your house. Pretty sure the stupidest country is elected Trump. Nah, there's one of two that are dumber. Am I been trolled? Or are some of the people replying to this joke really think that Alaska is a country? Get a Brian Moran. 'Cause I'm a Morrican. Shulda said California. Every American can get behind making fun of California. North Carolina is more stupider. Why? What country do you think is the stupidest up? It's weird that Ariel doesn't understand the concept of a fork when her dad is always carrying around a trident. Or, it makes perfect sense that she doesn't understand the concept of a fork because her dad doesn't use his trident to eat stuff. I mean, it would be kind of awkward to cut up a piece of meat and put in your mouth with a trident. He used the trident as a comb too. You think she should see them as tiny tridents. For what? Tiny warriors. If you have never seen a steak knife and people carry swords, would you imagine using a sword to eat? Fork is used to stab food. Trident is used to stab enemies. It's weird to think alcohol tastes like poison, and the reason is that it is. It's right there in the word intoxicated. It's okay to have a little poison as a treat. I'm not one for drinking poison, but I love my poison peppers on my food that tastes like burning. It cleans windows and throats, but it makes tolerating Reddit so much easier. Wait until Op learns about alcohol poisoning. This is why Strange Planet refers to alcohol drinks as mild poison. In high enough concentrations, it's an antiseptic you can also drink. And yet all animals love it via fermented fruit, which is actually quite nice, kind of fizzy. You know they clean industrial machinery with that stuff? Made my boss groan with this one yesterday. I never use a knife and fork when I eat my steak. I find it so much easier to use my teeth. Salary cutting noises. But how do you have it on a plate? But how do you have it cooked in a pan? Rare or well done, not rare. I have it weekly. You guys aren't using chopsticks for your ribeye. Friday evening, I'll show you you're buying at the dinner, so I cut it with a knife, like this. Then I shove it in my mouth, chew and swallow. Steak jokes, now there's a medium that's really well done. With Mom Mott, how do you eat yours? With your hands. Man walks into a bar with an octopus. I started selling bagpipes made from colostomy bags on to say, they sound like shit. Do not have $50 to bet. A man was walking with a penguin when a police officer approached him. Where did you get this penguin from? I found walking around, so I picked it up. Take it to the zoo immediately. As you wish, officer. Next day the officer sees the same man yet with the penguin. Haven't I told you to take it to the zoo? I did, officer. Today I'm taking it to the movies. This joke is cracking me up. Lips, octopi have a beak. Then everyone else in the bar shouted, holy shit, a talking octopus. Mark says to John, can you believe that an Arab millionaire saw my wife and told me that he would pay her weight in gold? A month. I am not buying this cow. If you ask for 8.5 months, not only can you make her fat, you can ensure you'll have another 6 months at the end to win her back from the Arab. I am not sure why the ethnicity of the millionaire needs to be included, as it doesn't play into the punchline. The punchline is lame, it's not funny, not absurd, isn't subverting expectations, and it isn't even a dad anti-joke. It's funny because women are objects, got it. Boring, bland, and sexist. Amazing. Men don't realize how much they pee on themselves until they use a urinal wearing flip-flops. Pretty sure Op is talking about pee ricochet, which can be a problem when using unfamiliar urinals. Urinals are like golf greens. Each one has a good line to the hole, but sometimes you don't realize where it is until you've already putt. I hate urinals for this exact reason. I never found the sweet spot to aim for. I'll just go in the stall if it's open. If I'm wearing shorts, I'll feel it on my leg too. Yeah, totally telling on myself. But so what? What the fuck are you talking about? I don't wear much besides sandals, and I've never peed on myself. I think you're telling on yourself. Most people will not be able to retire. I know people who are extremely hardworking, very well paid, save ferociously, and then die. A colleague just retired with a 7-figure pension, dead a few months later. Forget retirement, just trying to survive to the next day. At some point, people physically have to once their health gets bad enough. Whether they can actually afford to do it or not is a different story. No, just push the retirement age older and older until nobody actually reached that age. It's a scam at this point that the boomers wanted to take advantage of, then burn it all when they were done with it. My daughter 17 hit me with this one. Who in the tour group asked to go see the basement? You should have milked it. Forgot about what? The Alamo. The what? Lol, I imagine it as something that comes out in the voice of the Google Assistant. At least it wasn't the Spanish Inquisition. Honestly, I brain read that as Alamo Saint Forgot. Dear God, that's fucking perfect, mate. I'm not sure if I'll remember this joke later. I remember the Alamo. Our daughter jokes. That's hilarious. She have an Instagram. Glad for the wholesome visit. The car guys, Tom and Ray, moved it when they visited. I don't get the joke. Could someone explain it, please? My daughter burned me. You must one proud dad. Savage. This must have hurt. Tell her to keep her asinine opinions to herself. Are you sure it wasn't my daughter? Sounds like her. I did get a hilarious when I texted her this one. The student has surpassed the master. I tried to tell my dad that joke after I also saw it on here. It went like this. Me 3-4F giggling, hey dad. Where do dads keep their dad jokes? Dad in their daughters. He got me. My girlfriend died in a freak elevator accident. The police told me something snapped and my girlfriend plummeted 100 floors to her death. I dropped to my knees and cried, why her? The tension was suddenly released. The police or officers named Mike drop. The police knocked on my door and showed me a picture of a woman. Is this your wife? Yes. Sorry to say, but it looks like she's been hit by a truck. Yeah, but she has a great personality. Man, she got shafted. Brunette, I'm so pissed the elevator at work stopped working and I got stuck for an hour. Blonde friend, I had it worse, the escalator stopped working and I got stuck for 2 hours. That's wrong on so many levels. That cop was really pushing his buttons. My son was frustrated because apparently he just doesn't understand girls. I assured him saying that that'll change one day. My son, when you can explain how pizza is made in circles, delivered in square boxes, and eaten in triangles, only then will you hope to understand girls. And then you'll still be wrong. Best joke ever. I thought the punchline was going to be, yes, when you get older, it won't frustrate you anymore. I think I'll make a joke about girls never understanding boys no matter how old they get. Oh wait, all jokes should die. My wife asked for a divorce today. Said I was too un-American. A couple aged 101 and 98 was about to get a divorce. The judge sadly asks, oh come on now. You've been married for 80 years. Why did you decide to get a divorce? I mean, sir. Said the woman, we actually wanted a divorce for a long time, but did not want our children to get upset, so waited for them to die. 1.6 kilometers. Wife asked for a divorce today. Said I was too American. Saw it coming from 200 football fields and 300 chicken nuggets away. Over here we use meters, but we would still say dat zeg ik ben mijtelen voor aankomen, not kilometers. So it's also un-Dutch. My wife asked for a divorce today, saying I was too un-American. Since she's single, I'd love to meet her. Must have hit you like 1,000 kilograms of bricks. I hope you get a judge who oversees the proceedings with a measured approach. The breaking point was probably your activity on the gram. 1.6 kilometers. I saw the YouTube short too. You've gone too far. Tell her she has to join the Church of England first. Oh, the humor. Never met anyone in the UK who uses kilometers. Everyone I've ever known would use miles. How about 10 kilometers away, a metric mile? Nice. That's not a mid-Atlantic accent, she argued. But I'm from Greenland. I fired back. My wife called me at the bar. Said if I was not home in 10 minutes. She was feeding my dinner to the dog. My wife doesn't have a food thermometer. We have a smoke alarm, thanks to Rodney Dangerfield. Wait, some of you have wives that cook. What the hell? I learned to cook in self-defense. My wife cooks for me and she loves cooking my favorite, burnt up turkey wings. I don't have the heart to tell her. My wife loves burnt food. She must love it. She makes it all the time. In the first year of marriage, my wife and I worked through some issues. I asked her why she didn't cook like her mother, and she said, do you want me to cook in the kitchen or the bedroom? I've been cooking meals ever since for 41 years. My wife said, please don't post that crab joke again. It's not that funny. I laughed so hard my cough came back. This thread is cancer. And just like a hammerhead shark, this joke was cephalopoiled. Telling that joke was shellfish. I think you're fishing for replies. Sounds like your wife was pretty steamed. That joke went sideways. My appendix stitches came apart after this joke. It'll do at a pinch. Let's get it right. I got this joke from a toilet seat. Those jokes can make people a little crabby. That went sideways quickly. My wife to my daughter, do you think we're made of money? Dads are dollars. Dad jokes all day. Dispenses all dollars. Don't ask dad. Nice one begs the question, what does dad stand all and all details? Defender and deliverer. People are going to be annoyed that their autonomous vehicle strictly adheres to the rules of the road. Gee them. The passengers can just do their own stuff on their smartphones, so they will not feel time passing. Or they can just get to work an hour or two earlier and sleep in their vehicle while on transit. So people would not mind autonomous vehicles taking longer to reach their destination, since they can do other stuff. As someone with a disability, I welcome fully autonomous vehicles and can't wait for them to be available here in the UK. I'm cool with them only doing the speed limit. I heard an interview with a guy who rode in one. He said he had just taught his 16-year-old daughter how to drive and she was extremely overly cautious. He said the ride was like that. People of Reddit, what makes a woman instantly unattractive? After a long and arduous battle, she reveals that she has a second phase. Not self-aware. I want you to change, but accept me for who I am mentality. Seeing that she likes hurting people on purpose or is otherwise very toxic and unwilling to change. One that can't apologize or own their side of a disagreement. After mating, she tries to eat the male. When they explode into thousands of spiders. When they repost this for the 100th time. Being controlling. Displays bad attitude, entitlement, tendency towards drama. Obsessively posts on social media. If she starts dancing with her thumbs up. Something rude to wait staff or something. People who fucked up their life. How did you unfuck it? You'll never believe this, but the alcohol was the problem. If you're stuck in a hole, put down the shovel and ask for help out. 52 years old, just figured out I'm the problem. The rest is in progress. Well, let's see. Was an alcoholic for 10 years, hit rock bottom. Found out my rock bottom had a basement. After I found my way out of the rock bottom basement, I went to rehab. Got my full-time job back. Started therapy. Just got a dog and she's one of the best things to happen to me. 19 months sober this month. The unfucking is a work in progress. I may have fibbed a little bit on my resume. Ending addiction, medication, time, and stability. People who left their spouses for the person you cheated with. How did things end up? Nearing his deathbed, my dad said he regretted leaving his first wife. My mom was his mistress. My ex-husband cheated on me and left me for her. By all accounts, they were happy for a short time. A very short time. Once the excitement of cheating wore away, they were left with nothing, but each ex-husband ended up alone and miserable because the woman he left me for cheated on him repeatedly. Karma. Well, let's just say I now have to ex-spouses to avoid at family reunions. My mom did this, then her new husband cheated on her like he did with his first wife. Now she's on to husband 3. Pro-life of Reddit, what should we do with the unwanted children that would otherwise be aborted? So I feel like I've read through hundreds of comments and none are from pro-lifers answering the question. I have a modest proposal. Make them work in the mines. I'm not pro-life, but my brother who is staunchly pro-life says that every child deserves free healthcare, school, food, and housing. Literally want for nothing until they are adults and then hopefully with the skills knowledge that's been provided, begin taking care of themselves. I happen to agree, only wish that it extended beyond just kids, but baby steps, I guess. Putin decreed that all time zones in Russia be unified. You murdered the correct punchline is but his plane had not even take off yet. This one has been around for King Mer President. I'm so sorry to hear about the attack on the World Trade Center. Is there any help we can offer? George Bush, what attack on the World Trade King? Oh crap, I forgot about the time zone difference. But if the time zones were unified, why would the holiday be over for the relatives in Kaliningrad? Wouldn't they be at the same time as the Prime Minister? Though I was browsing world news at first. Why does everyone who posts this joke think that China is in a later time zone than Moscow? Albanians PM's joke about Putin from 4 days ago. Redditors with younger coworkers, what was your I'm officially old moment? My childhood cat lived to 21.5, so teaching freshman biology lab. So students were 18 became very weird when I realized my cat was older than my students. When I fell down the last couple of steps on a stairway, no one pointed and laughed like I expected. Instead, they helped me up and asked me if I was okay. That's when I knew. I'm a preschool teacher. It's been a trip to watch parents go from so much older than me to the same age as me, and now they're younger than me. They started calling me Mom or Mama Bear on the walkie-talkies. I find it kind of endearing, actually. Saying you're better looking than most people sounds a lot more arrogant than saying you're a 6'10", even though they're basically saying the same thing. Not really. Human attractiveness is not a perfect bell curve from 110. People overrate so much that 6'10" is the new for 10. What if most people rate themselves 6, 7, 10? That's not how that works, lol. I don't think the average person is a 5'10". The mean is 5'10". Were you high when you come up with this? Saying you're more attractive than most people is arrogant. Saying you're a 6 out of 10 says nothing about the attractiveness of everyone else, because that's not the same as percentiles. That's assuming that each ranking of attractiveness has an equal number of people in it. Till a comedian formed the Union of Conscientiously Workshy Elements in Denmark as a joke, but he was unexpected elected with 23,000 votes and won a seat. His promises were better Christmas presents, the right to impotency, more Renaissance furniture at IKEA, more bread for ducks, and better weather. He served for 4 years in Parliament, and 3 of his promises were actually fulfilled during his being. More bread for ducks in parks, Nutella in army rations, and a public toilet in a park where he served his voters beer and sausages. -1. But I still recall grown-ups joking saying they were excited for his promise of more tailwind on bike pots and the 8 hours of leisure, 8 hours of rest, and 8 hours of sleep that he campaigned on. TIL actor Bill Paxton Aliens, Weird Science, Titanic. Edge of Tomorrow died in 2017 after heart surgery. The family sued the doctor for a high-risk and unconventional surgical approach that was unnecessary and that he lacked the expertise to perform. In February 2022, Paxton's family reached a partial settlement with General Anesthesia Specialists Partnership for $1,033,000 in August 2022. The case was settled against Cedars-Sinai and Dr. Coyne has had under undisclosed terms. Michael Bean said he had suggested another cardiac surgeon to Bill. This one got a rep as a cowboy doing dumb stuff. Tombstone? Don't forget Tombstone. Till Belgian wages and salaries automatically up with inflation each year, i.e., all companies have given their employees a mandatory raise to compensate for inflation. Holy crap, with inflation going crazy during the pandemic, the raises must have been insane the last couple years. How does this not cause a feedback loop? Pretty sure this is a report where US lawmakers and corporations and shareholders suddenly don't know how to read. That as Belgian waffles and celeries automatically up with inflation each year and thought it was one of those weird stats like how they use waffle has to rank the severity of weather in the South. The United States used to do this up until a specific year when politicians decided to change it. Till 4 of the 9/11 hijackers' passports survived the attack. 2 were recovered from the wreckage of Flight 93. 1 was recovered in luggage that had missed a connecting flight. And the 4th was recovered on the floor outside the WTC prior to the tower's collapse. I missed the word passports the first time I read the headline. Was trying to figure out what a hijacker was doing hiding in his luggage. As I shared in another sub, I actually talked to Mohammed Atta a couple of weeks before 9/11. He locked his keys in his car. I was the dispatcher at AA that took the call. Floor outside. Oh, jet fuel can't melt passports. One of 9/11 attackers lost his luggage. At least the bastard was having a bad day. Till France helped America gain independence from Britain during the American Revolution. Ben Franklin persuaded France to give troops, money, and supplies to support America. It was risky and expensive, but the French were convinced that unity with Americans would lead to Britain's defeat in Na. Franklin, we need help in a against son of a bitch in. We were a proxy war. Helping the United States pretty much bankrupted the French, and it was one of the leading causes of the French Revolution. The United States get rid of a monarchy taxing the hell out of them. And that combined with the lack of money was a lethal combination to the very people who helped the US win the Revolutionary War. I don't know if it's irony or poetic justice. Till Germany is the only country where you can't travel through time and look at old street views because of strict privacy regulations. It's okay, Germany. Street views doesn't go back that far. You can see older street view pics, Datenschutz. Till you can travel through time and look at old street views. Was born in Germany but moved to NZ when I was young. In the early days of Street View before this came into effect, I found my grandma's house. And it was a nostalgia rush and amazing to be able to view it. Now places are harder to recognize and it won't even let me do street view at all. Kind of bummer. El Guantanamo Bay military base is leased from Cuba for $4,085 a month. Except Cuba refuses to cash the checks. The only time a check was cashed was an accident, as they consider it stolen land. $4K month for rent is the real steal here. When does the lease expire? And you know, every check up to 1959. Lol, $4,000 is like rent for a house or something. But you or did cash one. I've heard it described as a perpetual land lease that only the United States can terminate. Cuba has a whole drawer full of birthday cards from Nana they never opened. If Cuba really wanted to F the US over, they'd cash all the checks right before the rent on the White House is due. Adolf Hitler's mistress, Eva Braun, showed no interest in politics, except in one notable episode, learning that women's cosmetics and luxuries were to be banned owing to Germany's total war. She came to Hitler in high indignation, leading to a halt in production without an outright ban. Other than that, Mrs. Hitler, how was the Third Reich? She literally threw a party in the bunker when the Soviets were marching on Berlin like nothing was happening. She was deeply delusional, probably on purpose. Many thought it was an extreme poor taste, seeing as they had children shooting at tanks with Panzerfaust above their heads. My hat's off to Eva standing up for the things that matter. Bans are fine until it personally impacts me. If you can voluntarily control your middle ear tensor tympani muscles to create a rumbling noise inside your head, you are extremely rare. I can do this since childhood. I remember asking my sister if she could hear it too. I can also depressurize the inner ear when needed. I just assumed everyone could do this, if only this were at all useful. Just glanced at the article. I am wondering if the wording of voluntary control over the tensor tympani muscle is an extremely rare event. Means not that the ability to do so is rare, but that someone intentionally doing so is rare and we all just got trolled. TAL everyone on Reddit is rare. Till jaws directly contributed to a surge in shark hunting, and consequently a drop in shark populations. Peter Benchley regretted writing jaws. Knowing what I know now, I could never write that book today. Sharks don't target human beings, and they certainly don't hold grudges. Couldn't fit it in the title, but he spent his life campaigning for shark conservation. They certainly don't hold never watch Jaws the Revenge. Now, orcas, on the other hand, do hold grudges. Wasn't this something similar that happened when Finding Nemo came out, which ironically led to more clownfishes being captured? Till Kim Jong-il's birth name was Yuri Ursenovich Kim. My birth name has a literal meaning of pink bottom, so you know I changed it the second I turned 16. This comment section is wild mo. How does a till about someone's birth name turn into a debate about communism? Kim is still his last name, though, to be clear. The order for Korean language is surname first is all. So you could have as easily said Kim Yuri Ursenovich versus Kim Jong-il. Then it's comparing the two names properly. Swapping the position of Kim is not necessary. What a pathetic piece of shit. Holy shit, are we all reading the same articles? I learned this yesterday, lol. Till McDonald's waged a 26-year unsuccessful legal battle against a man named Ronald McDonald and his McDonald's family restaurant. Should have just named it McDowell's. Should have done what Burger King did in Australia when they couldn't secure the name. They went with Hungry Jack's, aka letting that shit go. The reason there is no Wendy's in Europe, well, the UN not anymore is also related to brand names. Wendy's filed many lawsuits against a Dutch snack bar called Wendy's, which continues to hold the brand rights to the name Wendy's in Europe, the EU. Till Michael Keaton's real last name is Douglas, so to not be confused with the other actor, he changed his last name. While his first thought was changing it to Jackson, he ultimately decided on Keaton. He didn't do it just not be confused with Michael Douglas. It's a requirement of the Screen Actors Guild. When you join, your stage name cannot be the same as another actor's name in Guild. Many people end up changing their stage name because of this. For instance, Emma Stone's real name is Emily, but Emily Stone was already taken. TAL New Mexico is the only state with an official state question red or green. Red or green refers to the choices of chili sauce typically offered at local restaurants and is usually asked, as quoted, Christmas. The answer is always green. Christmas in my house. Not true. Iowa also has a state question, and it's why can't I afford to move? Red with beef, green with chicken. If I'm not mistaken, we're the only ones to have a state smell. And of course it's roasting green chili. It's more than an obsession, it's a sickness. The green chili cheeseburger at the All Bar is a special kind of greasy joy. Green on the inside, red on top. Christmas. Till Smash Mouth conceived the idea for All Star after they received a ton of fan mail about their fans being bullied for liking the band. Sounds like something a Nickelback fan says, "Rip Redman." All that glitters is gold. Only shooting stars break though. TIL Smash Mouth had fans before All Star. I assume "Sorry About Your Penis" was written for the bullies. I got bullied for singing along All Star during my bus rides. I'll never forget the first time I heard one of their songs. It was 1997 and I was in my neighbor's mom's station wagon on the way home from her 10th birthday party at medieval times. "Walkin' on the Sun" came on and we were mesmerized. Godspeed Steve, RIP. TIL that Robert Todd Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's eldest son, was close to or directly at all 3 presidential assassinations that happened during his lifetime. He swore off presidential events as a result, fearing his presence meant a president would die. He was also once saved from near certain death by Edwin Booth, brother to John Wilkes Booth, the man who would soon after assassinate Robert's father, Abraham Lincoln. There were like 9 people back then. It was bound to happen. I'm not saying it's real, but I'll say that I've been invited to 6 weddings, the first 3 I attended, and the couples divorced within a couple years. The second 3 I politely refused, and the couples are still together to this day. One of them has 8 children now, I think. Till the creator of Burning Man had never seen the movie Wicker Man before creating the event and is adamant that the movie did not inspire or affect his vision for the festival in any way. It started it as a small, private solstice celebration on a beach near San Francisco in 1986. It may not have affected his original vision, but it sure inspires a lot of Wicker Man fans to attend. I would assume that he got the idea from Zozobra, which was the original artist effigy burning in America. Burning an effigy is a relatively common impulse. Text hanging 20 or 20 burning 20 the 20 effigy. Straw 20 puppet 20 if 20 the 20 pope. Let's make a big fire is a pretty common theme throughout history. Till Tokyo Disney is not owned or operated by the Walt Disney Company in any way, but merely licenses Disney's intellectual property. Disney was also responsible for the design and building of the park. The Imagineers still build new attractions for it, said that Tokyo Disneyland is their favorite park to work on, because the Japanese company that runs it always wants to be at the front of new ride technology, and because they keep giving them money. This was also an experiment in whether an international Disney park would be popular. Disney got to participate in the experiment without holding the bag. The Paris park was not wholly owned by Walt Disney Company either, until about 5 years ago. TIL wasabi is one of the world's most expensive crops to cultivate, and that the wasabi you eat with your sushi is actually just horseradish dyed green. You only get real wasabi at high-end sushi restaurants and often costs extra. That's why when you get it, it's usually horseradish. I learned this on Clarkson's farm. Real wasabi is so much better than the horseradish stuff they normally serve. I still do love the horseradish stuff though. Horseradish kicks you in the nuts harder, and I like getting kicked in the nuts. And yet Clarkson tried. I get mine from Oregon Coast Wasabi. Did anyone mention yet that what is usually served as wasabi is actually horseradish? Because that's a super secret fact that nobody knows. Worth it. TIL about the submarine USS Chopper, which in 1969 suffered an electrical failure while diving, causing it to point nearly vertically down and almost approach crushing depth. During the crew's efforts to regain control, the submarine eventually shot up nose up, nearly completely out of the water. The wiki article makes no mention of injuries, but that submarine became a tower into different ways into minutes, then slammed out of the water and then dove another 200 feet from the force before leveling out. These people have a reasonable claim to the longest and scariest 2 minutes in history. I've known 2 people that were stationed on submarines. They are a different breed. TIL in 1965 to simulate an atomic blast. The U.S. Navy detonated 500 tons of TNT on the sacred Hawaiian island of Kahului, cracking the island's groundwater, draining it into sea. Wikipedia has a great photo of the pile of explosives they used. Sailor hat. I spent 3 weeks there in the early 80s. Stayed on a cove on the west side. Beautiful beach, but sadly no fresh water. Bathed in the ocean, man, I smelled horrible when I got back to Oahu. A crater cracks the cap rock on the island, and that portion of the island's groundwater is lost to distinction regarding the groundwater. The island is still being cleared of UXO. Coconuts. Pretty typical American treatment of occupied territory. TIL. In many countries, there's a mandatory requirement for companies to pay salaried employees a 13th month and even a 14th month yearly bonus pays each equivalent to 1 month's normal salary. It's not a legal requirement anymore, but it's pretty much expected to get 14 monthly salaries instead of 12. The extras are paid in December and June to coincide with Christmas and summer vacations. Some companies will let you choose which system you want. The same yearly amount divided in different monthly amounts. For others, it's in the collective union agreement for all workers and cannot be changed. TIL. In the 18 months leading up to the 9/11 attacks, CIA had 2 of the hijackers under surveillance within the US but kept it secret from the FBI, the CIA, and the Mossad, and the Lebanese Secret Service. As far as I heard, both of them reported to their American counterparts at some point. The FBI also knew because a bunch of flight instructors reported Muslim men who wanted to learn how to fly, but not how to land. You just learned that. Must be young. That was a huge shakeup after 9/11, and reported on for months about how the agencies were trying to work to bridge that gap. Till it takes 140 liters of water to produce 1 cup of coffee. Till plants need water. These sorts of stats are irrelevant. Water is part of a cycle, meaning it is a renewable resource you'll crop have on the surrounding people and environment. E.g., is irrigation involved, potentially preventing other uses? Does the high or low level of rain-fed use relative to natural veg have an impact? Some of these are in the decent article. Headline: bad. Yeah, all that water gets permanently destroyed in the process. You're in a hole. I poured 140 liters of water into my coffee maker and it still made the same amount of coffee. The only difference is my downstairs neighbors are pissed off that it's raining in their apartment. Now, TIL of Emperor Uzai, who granted his sister a harem of 30 young men after she complained about the emperor getting thousands of concubines, but she could only have 1 husband. He was assassinated after just 1 year on the throne at age 16. Reading the wiki. It was just another hormonally charged teenager living a hedonistic lifestyle, fucking princesses as he pleased while killing those that ruined his fun. In the end, at age 16, he got assassinated, unsurprisingly. He also regarded as very ill-tempered emperor. He once had a bad dream where a woman cursing him. When he woke up, he saw a lady in waiting who looked similar to women in the dream, so he had her beheaded. He also hated his father for some reason. Did she get to pick the men? TIL of Jana Chandler, a 22-year-old Michigan woman who was gang raped and killed by her colleagues in February 1979 because they hated her promiscuity. The case remained unsolved until in 2004 when some college students made a film called Who Killed Jana Chandler that led to the case being solved. I wish I had never read that. 2 died in prison, 3 more to go. Hard to understand how groups of people can be so horrible. 1 person is easy to see, but a whole group deciding this is okay? People forget how few tools law enforcement had back then and how much crime happened. Many people think it was the good old days. For many, it was not. That was a tough read. I'm glad some sort of justice was served. TIL of the metaphor of the missing stair, where a problematic person in a community is discreetly worked around and warned about. rather than openly addressed. Guy his family to the point where not even the police would do anything about him. So it all culminated in him being shot in the middle of town, the whole town claiming they didn't. See who shot him. No one was arrested. They dealt with that bully. Can't remember the town name though. Careful. If you've been somewhere long enough and you suspect there may be a missing stare in your group, but no one tells you about them, it could be you. Yesterday at the top of the stairs, I met a man who wasn't there again. I wish he'd stay away. Hugh Mearns. Till people didn't know TNT was explosive for 28 years and used it as yellow dye instead. TNT is relatively difficult to get to explode, which was the feature that made it such a popular explosive. It was safer to transport, store, and handle than other explosives. It also gave it a military advantage. TNT-filled armor-piercing shells would explode after they had penetrated the armor. I also just watched the new Corridor Crew video. TAL Dynamite and TNT aren't the same thing. The nice thing was they didn't have to rewrite the slogan, which was, "Are you ready to die?" This reminds me of Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite and the Nobel Prize. I'm glad I looked up the difference. TAL that a Prius once recorded 698 mpg while going at an average speed of 60 km/h or 37 miles per hour. According to the link, those are imperial gallons, not US gallons. Imperial gallons are about 20 bigger than US gallons. The car was only getting about 560 US mpg. Any FEV should be able to meet those figures over 12 miles honestly. It's just marketing fluff. My fully gas-powered vehicle tells me I'm getting 555 mpg when I'm going downhill in neutral. 30 for L100. TIL that during a trip to Moscow, then Vice President Richard Nixon was exposed to high levels of ionizing radiation while staying at the U.S. ambassador's residence. After Secret Service agents loudly complained the next day, radiation levels dropped. Evgeny, did you go forward with that stupid radiating the American VP plan of yours? Yes, and it wasn't Stu. Bang, bang, bang. There you go. Problem solved. You can call the Americans and tell them it's gonna be okay. Quickly complain at that warhead. I've got a little electronic Geiger counter that I used to always take with me when I traveled. International military sales. Israeli airport X-ray machines are cranked up an order of magnitude higher than the ones in the US. TIL that from 1988 to 1998, Wendy's had a buffet called the Super Bar which served Mexican food, pasta, salad, and fruit, and canned chocolate and vanilla pudding. I still think about going there after band practice. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. IT was amazing. All you can eat tacos, piazza, pasta, and 90s salad bar items like ambrosia salad. We ate like kings. I always had a mound of those little ham squares. Awesome to the garlic bread that was just the burger buns cut in half and toasted with garlic butter. TIL that in the original 3 Wishes story from 1001 Nights, the man uses his first wish to make his dick gigantic, his second wish to accidentally remove his dick altogether, and his third wish to just get his original dick back. So basically the What We Do in the Shadows Gene plot line. When does Disney make this movie? Prince Ali had a big PE in comma dot now it's all gone his last wish dot to get back what he missed. This is my song, yeah. Shahrazad's mind was clearly still on her day job. I find it funnier that it's actually his wife who asked him to wish for this. And somehow it was his wife's fault. Thus the man lost his 3 wishes by the lack of wit in the woman. Typical. You sure that isn't like 1001 Nights with John Holmes? TIL that, over the course of their lifetime, 1 in 10 Icelanders will publish a book. If I recall, it's because the government will buy 1,000 copies or whatever of any citizen's book. They certainly have a lot of town time. 50 plus years ago, I lived there and winters saw so many drunk. Or in mental facilities, I guess the rest were authors. It was an amazing place. Makes sense, not shit else to do over there. Must be nice to live in a country that values literacy. Given how much they read, this doesn't surprise me. I think I should have been born in Iceland. Did you listen to Criminal recently? Please call now. For just 5 cents a day, you can prevent an Icelander from publishing a book. TIL that platinum was not known in Europe before the rediscovery of the Americas. The first European reference to platinum appears in 1557 as a description of an unknown noble. Metal found between Darien and Mexico, which no fire nor any Spanish artifice has yet been able to liquefy. Fun fact about platinum, it's about 30x more rare than gold. In fact, all the platinum ever mined would only cover your ankles in 1 Olympic-sized swimming pool, while all the gold produced would fill 3 Olympic-sized pools. Darien was the location of a Scottish attempt at a colonial empire, which went on to basically bankrupt Scotland and ended up with the Acts of Union with England. TIL that the current population of Ireland, approx 7 meters, is still below the population recorded before. In the Great Hunger of the 1840s, approx 8.5 meters. The only country on the planet which has a negative population growth between 1750 and today. 1 million dead. 1 million fled is the saying that sums up just how massive the toll was on the Irish population. Wow, I never thought about how few people reside there. I've been in cities with more people. But I bet I'd enjoy Ireland more. Replace the Great Hunger with the genocide, and that heading will be accurate. TIL that unlike France and Germany, the Dutch take offense to foreign media dubbed in their native language and would prefer to watch them with Dutch subtitles. Same in Denmark. I agree with the Dutch. I can't watch something when the audio doesn't match the actor's mouth. It's the same in the Nordic countries. Dubbing is practically unheard of. I lived in Copenhagen for a year, and not only was it better for Danes to learn English, having subtitles was better for me to read Danish. Till the notion of waiting 30 minutes after eating before swimming has no scientific basis whatsoever. I always figured the real reason was to keep little kids from vomiting in the pool. They would eat lunch, and then you don't necessarily want that food jostling around right away if there was a chance it could end up in the pool and then ruin the day for everybody. It still makes sense, says my mom. It is not about swimming, but exercising. Do you go to the gym right after a huge meal? No. The same with swimming. The rule exists to give parents a break from the water, not to save kids' lives. Source being a parent. TIL the physical virginity of Jesus' mother was so important in the Middle Ages. Paintings depicted Mary getting pregnant through her ear with a beam of light from the Holy Ghost. In a time when most people couldn't read, art was supposed to tell biblical stories so peasants could understand. That's still penetration though. Women and virginity has been a pretty big deal, religiously, for pretty much ever. Wasn't there a Family Guy ep about ear sex? Jewish space laser, right? From God's hips to your ear. Man, Christianity is fucking weird. Imagine cheating on your husband and accidentally starting a religion. And if you can believe that bullshit, then you're exactly the kind of gullible twat that the church needs to keep fleecing to run its scam. The Pina Colada's creation origin is hotly contested and claimed by the restaurant Barraquina in 1963 and the Caribe Hilton Hotel in 1954, both located in San Juan, Puerto Rico. However, a cocktail book by a London hotel included the drink. This book was published in 1930. The first mention I can find of the cocktail by that name is from July 23, 1928, in the Pittsburgh Press. 10 to 12 years ago, when I was in Havana, it was a popular habit to stop in at the cafes, late morning and late afternoon, for what is known as a pina colada, a famous Cuban drink. The writer is the photographer and newspaper columnist Florence Fisher Perry. Till there is a fourth Jonas brother and he is studying astrophysics at Columbia University, the bonus Jonas. I think he worked the merch table when they were still doing coffee. He hates that nickname. He's hosted 2 seasons of Claim to Fame with Kevin. Makes sense, he's brothers with Kevin, Joe and Nick, but he has to study astrophysics so he can identify an actual star. Yo, I knew about Frankie, but I had no idea he was studying astrophysics at Columbia. They asked him to join the other 3 in a music career. He said he needed some space. He looks like all of them combined. I wonder if he ever hangs out with Luke Hemsworth. Similarly, there is also a 4th Hanson brother, Cold Dude. Good for him. I hope it goes well. Till there is no such thing as a chemical that changes pool water color on contact with urine. The pool would constantly be purple or whatever if that was the case. Even if there was, it'd be triggered by sweat. Nope, but if you get an Easter egg dye tablet and tell everyone there is, you can slip it into your brother's pocket for a prank. So I have heard. If there was, every pool would just be that color. This should not be shared. You have doomed pools everywhere to a urine grave. You could dose the pool with several gallons of Nestler's reagent, which reacts with ammonia to turn bright. That's expensive as hell and chock full of mercury. So it's a double dumb idea. I knew that, but yet I check every time just in case. The gambler calls his tax attorney, and they go to see the IRS agent. A good laugh. But the IRS agent may get the last laugh that $20,000 counts as income. This is some old gold here. Was the gambler Quentin Tarantino? The best joke I've heard today. Isn't this the same form of joke from a Quentin Tarantino movie? From Dusk Till Dawn, if recall correctly. Bad version of this joke that doesn't understand that gambling winnings have to be declared as income. More disappointed in the how do dentures bite an eye that is on your eyeball. Straight out of Desperado. Tarantino tells it better. The meaning of the word woke has completely changed over the last decade. In 09 to 016 in my circles, woke was a good D say stay woke and stuff, as in stay alert. Don't be fooled sort of mentality. The definition got hijacked. Well, that's why languages are alive. It changed from being aware of racial prejudices and discrimination to liberals like this word so. It's bad, and that's what drives politics today. A lot of words that originated in Black communities get borrowed by mainstream culture, turned into slang and turned into a word that's not really its original meaning. It's not intentional or anything, but it's kinda sad to see. Kind of like underrated. This one really happened and takes some setup, but the ending is crap, I promise. You weren't kidding about promising crap at the end, huh? Fine, I'm in a giggle fit right now, really mature, silly and railgun. Take my angry vote. Toilet humor, I like it. Figuring it was. A small stool from my son would be a pleasant surprise for my daughter, as they share a bathroom. He usually leaves giant, overstuffed couches for her. There was nothing clean about this joke for sure. Unfortunately, I also had a bowel movement to this. That's literally crap. Now that was funny. That's a great dad joke. Worth it. 3 to humble brag joke. Two economists are walking in a forest when they come across a pile of shit. There were 2 economists who were shipwrecked on a desert island. Over the next 20 years, they made $124 million selling their hats to each other. Gives a new meaning to gross domestic product. The real fun is when they both get the tax bill. Both eat shit for nothing. Then both get to pay Uncle Sam for the privilege. Yeah, but at least neither one stepped in it. Our economics needs to see this. Such is why people should not waste their money on useless activities, else all the suffering they endured is for nothing. So after earning money, people should use it only for essentials like healthy food, transport, utilities, and rent and work clothes. We once thought it was normal to make children stand every morning and pledge their undying fealty to a flag. Do they not do this anymore? But I'm an exchange student from France. I don't care, pledge your allegiance to our flag. Damn it. Is that not a thing in schools anymore? I always thought it was weird, but I also never really questioned it. We did the Pledge of Allegiance and morning prayers every day. You just kind of robotically recite the memorized words. They meant literally nothing to me. What are y'all starting to dislike the more and more older you get? Social media. It's just gotten worse and worse since I was in high school. Everything needing an app. Why can't I just use this perfectly fine browser? People. Loud noise. Children screaming for no reason, and loud noises really frustrate me. Meeting new people. I'm 62. Working has lost its color. Teenagers. They become more and more repulsive. Trying to be cool and get attention, especially with people whom I am not close to. Now I just wish to be peaceful. Cars driving through the neighborhood fast. Like slow the FK down. People are trying to live in here. Just 10 years ago, I was one of those drivers. What body type do you find most attractive? Women pole vaulters. Shapeshifter. I like variety. My wife's. Women. Athletic but not ripped. Like she cares about her health, but is still huggable. I call it the Jack Black. Anything except extremes, not sickly skinny, not morbidly obese, anything in the general averages. I'm attracted to personalities and humor, and that makes their body attractive. I like short men with stocky builds and broad shoulders. Any body. I like tall girls with big butts like Jennifer Lawrence. Honestly. If someone pays attention to me and gives me any sort of affection, their body type is irrelevant. Because I'm sad. Please say dad bod. What did Harry Potter say when he was filling up his car? Expensive petrolulu. Expecting Petronas. Cheapest petroleum in Dubai. Why the fuck do I have a car? You filthy horcrux. Where is my broom? Inflatio preso gasio. Lauris the gas precious. He must have been in California. Why aren't we supplying our own energy? Yeah, and the Patronus is an oil executive laughing as your money magically disappears from your pocket. Costus frius for Averius. Even Potters had enough. Got in and slammed the Gryffindor. I thought it would be something disparaging towards transmissions. What do they call Miley Cyrus in Europe? Royale with cheese. 1.6 kilometers Cyrus. Miley Cyprus. Hannah Barcelona. Hannah Andorra. The joke is funnier if you replace Europe with the rest of the world. Kilometry Cyrus. Miley Cyrus. Kilometry Cyrus. I thought the answer would be Miley Cyprus. Europe and literally everywhere else in the world besides the US, Liberia, and Myanmar. The quirky twerky. In Europe and pretty much everywhere else except, like, to 3 dumb countries. A tramp. Kilometry Cyrus. FTFY. Miley 3 Ring Cyrus. Incredibly old joke, except for kilometers Standish. Look it up, young'uns. What fact is common knowledge in your field, but almost unknown to the rest of the population? An elevator will go up to the top of the hoist instead of crash to the floor in most catastrophic failures due to the counterweights. Powerful explosives are so insensitive to shock that it usually takes a smaller, more sensitive explosive to set them off. When a person flatlines, you cannot shock them out of it. The world runs on MSXL. Bed bugs don't make you a nasty person with a nasty home. An infestation isn't due to a sanitation issue. They're an imported pest, which means they hitched a ride on something you brought into the house, usually luggage or furniture. Mushrooms are genetically closer related to humans than to plants. What immediately tells you that a person wasn't raised right? When a person is supposed to apologize, but makes excuses instead. Littering. When they talk badly about someone who hasn't done anything wrong behind their back. Lack of personal accountability. They can never admit wrongdoing on their part. It's always someone else's fault. When they can't take no for an answer. Finding cruelty funny. They litter, not small things like cigarette butts or straw wrappers either, which is bad enough. But I'm talking like whole McDonald's bags out the window on the highway. Fuck those people. Lack of consideration for others. When they put the empty milk carton back in the fridge like they just birthed it. When they don't understand the concept of personal space. What is 1 HP of damage in real life? Ironically, stepping on a D4. Trying to open a beer you thought was a twist top. Dropping your phone on your face. Static shock. Working on the engine of a car and bumping your head on the hood as you get up. Paper cut. When a server says enjoy your meal and you respond thank you, you too. Emotional damage is still damage, right? Saying bye to someone walking the same way. A hangnail. Brain freeze. What is 22 years too old for? Throwing a temper tantrum at a store. Having your mom clean your room. High school-like drama. My sister is in her freshman year of high school and Jesus, I don't miss that. Leonardo DiCaprio. Celebrating his 21st birthday. Being breastfed by your mom. To be afraid of making mistakes. Keep learning. High school teen drama like Who Gives a Shit? 22 is both too old and too young for you to pee your pants, unless it's a medical condition. Prince. To still be saying, I'm not like other girls. Having a 15-year-old girlfriend. Through use of the generic feminine boyfriends are also included in this statement. What is a dirty little secret about an industry that you have worked in? That people outside the industry really should know? A very popular local bagel shop bakery I worked at advertised. All of our baked goods were homemade, dozens of muffins, Danish, cinnamon rolls, and they were not. They all came from Cisco, frozen on sheets. Many customers would rave about the baked goods, saying they were the best they've had. God bless them. Nobody who actually sorts mail gives a shit about your package. The word fragile doesn't stop them from throwing it 20 feet into a metal container. They put little weights in lipsticks to make them feel more expensive so they can charge more. What is something that very rich people commonly do in the US that very rich people outside of the US do not? I have way more in common with each other across cultures, partly because they travel more and interact with each other more than ordinary people do. So I'm not sure they would be all that different. I met some rednecks who became millionaires who had a pool custom built outside of their double wide trailer and filled it with McDonald's Happy Meal toys. Don't think many other countries have those. It's things that rich people do globally. What sounded like a compliment when you were young, but you later understood it wasn't? You're such a perfectionist. You look, sound, act just like you could be an innocent comment, but also could be a veiled insult. You look 18 when I was 12 as an adult. I realized how creepy that was. You've got an old soul usually meant I was quiet and did what I was told. Nice parallel parking skills, you'll make a great valet one day. You are smarter than you look. Older men commenting on my body when I was a minor. For fuck's sake. You're not like other girls. Bless your heart. You have a big heart, meaning I can screw you over and you won't do shit. Pretty much they think you are stupid. What was meant for kids but adult consumers hijacked it and ruined it. Youth, I was a kid 30 years ago. You'd have a practice or two a week plus a game on Saturday. Then if you loved sports, you'd get together with buddies in your ample free time and mess around playing super fun pickup games. Now, many kids are having full weekend tournaments like every weekend and tons of practices. They rarely have the free time to just play with their friends for the fun of it. Sure, they are better athletes than we were, but are they better off? Harry Potter vibrating broomstick. Pokemon cards, scalpers were so down horrendous they were raiding McDonald's during the pandemic. Oops. My Little Pony. Tricks. The word daddy. What was supposed to be the next big thing, but completely flopped? Amazon's shopping buttons. They pushed really hard for those and I never saw the point. 3D television movies? Not entirely relevant. But I liked the trend where everybody wanted the smallest cell phone possible. For 20 years, cell phones got smaller and smaller, often being the main selling point of the phone. Then all of a sudden you could watch videos on your phone. And almost overnight the trend reversed to larger is better. When the Windows Phone was unveiled, Microsoft held a genuine funeral procession for the iPhone. Google Glass. Segway. What would be the best response to why don't you have a girlfriend? My wife wouldn't like it. Just waiting for yours to be available again. In this economy. Because your mom wants to keep it casual. I could never respect a woman that loved a man like me. My first girlfriend turned into the moon. Ask them an inappropriate question instead. My parents gave me the ugly. I don't even like myself. How am I supposed to get someone else too? I do. She's right here. Can't you see her too? Because having a girlfriend would cut into my nap schedule. Skill issue. My girlfriend dressed up as a policewoman and told me I was under arrest on suspicion of being good. In bed, after 2 minutes, all charges were dropped due to a lack of evidence. What would you name a newborn child if you really wanted to ruin their life, but wanted to maintain plausible deniability about having done it on purpose? I had read a story about how a woman unintentionally named her daughter after a concentration camp. She said she just liked the name and had no idea. The craziest part was that she got pretty far before anyone told her. Tony spelled Tufna. The last name Dyke is very common in the area I live in. When I moved here in grade 8, there was an announcement over the school's PA for a Harry Dyke to report to the office. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So probably Harry Dykemow. What's a dead giveaway that someone doesn't have a life? Being me on here looking for things that I'm guilty of doing. The lady in my office who monitors how long everyone has been away from their computer. Starting workplace drama. I swear I've seen this same post a few weeks ago, which means I'm way too much on Reddit. They talk about high school all the time. They up in yours, worrying about what others do with their life. I think if someone is obsessed with what someone else does, they don't have anything in their own life going on. My manager gets mad at anyone who takes time off and complains about them the whole time they're gone. Sorry you don't have a life. Other people do. Maybe you should try it sometime. What's a dead giveaway that someone is a bad person? When they're judgmental but not introspective. They can never admit when they are wrong. If they apologize for something but keep doing it afterwards and complain when no one is giving them a second chance. They tell you how nice they are. I always wonder, who are you trying to convince, me or you? If someone has a problem with everyone 99 of the time, they are the problem. They're all murdery and shit. What's a total waste of money yet people still pay for? Scientology. Extended warranties on something like a small appliance under $200. It is exchangeable at the store during its original warranty, and the amount of jacking around and possibly shipping charges or service fee is not even worth it. Reddit awards. The money people send to celebrity preachers. Timeshares? Don't. Food delivery from third-party apps. Not only is takeout already expensive, you are paying a 10 to 20 upcharge on the menu. Then there's the fees and tip. Internet service providers that still don't offer unlimited data plans. Annually replacing a smartphone. In-app purchases in games. What's something you were told you would grow out of but never did? Gaming. The punk gothic culture of the 90s to 2000s era, 30s and still rocking it. Being short. Social anxiety. It only got worse. Cartoons. Video games and metal music. Fantasy novels. Some of them are written for adults. My aversion to most social events. On my 10th birthday, which was Pokémon themed, my parents mocked me and said when I was an adult, I wouldn't even like Pokémon anymore. Well, I'm 29 now and still fucking love Pokémon. Where do nerds get their water? That's what I call high-quality H2O. I'm geeking out on this one. You mean mansplainers, surely? I don't get it. Google Inspector will actually listen to the audiobook as I, for one, think they're very clever. Today I learned that nerds mansplainers from the Labrie tar pits. Which fictional character has suffered more than any other human on Earth? Well, E. Coyote. Captain Jack Harkness. He is immortal. And he was buried underground in the prehistoric era and had to constantly suffocate. Return to life and suffocate again until the 20th century. Cricket from It's Always Sunny. Prometheus. Ted from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. I'd say the mythological Loki. Bound to a rock with the entrails of his sons with a snake dripping venom on his face. Guts. Kenny from South Park. Why are mathematicians the worst people to date? You can never get the x out of the equation. They really spend too much time trying to find their x. They don't know why, but they're always trying to find their x. I find it hard to count on them. At least, they know how to solve problems. They're irrational and only eat pie. I never understood why. Something isn't adding up. An older archaeologist asked me to date her. Apparently, Pliocene wasn't the answer she was looking for. They are far too calculating. This is really creative law. Some of them can be quite negative. Some things don't add up. Better version because they're always looking for their ex. You can never count on them. Why did Mike Tyson go to the Christian plastic surgeon? They recently learned that his famous lisp is caused by a rare and unusual growth in his mouth. In the medical community, it is known as Holyfield's ear. Mike Tyson is the host in a spelling bee. A contestant approaches the stage and Mike says, "The word is dictate." The contestant thinks for a second, clearly pondering the spelling of the word. Dictate, Mike, could you please use that in a sentence? Mike replies, "Well, of course. When I was in prison, Maurice told me that my dictate good." Love this and think Tyson is hilarious. So that is why I bought an ugly Christmas sweater with Tyson on it saying Merry Christmas. Why is a show better at the planetarium than at the movie theater? Sorry to hear that your family wasn't over the moon with your joke. Stellar dad joke. Reminds me of the time my wife and I and a few friends were at a restaurant. We sat outside because things weren't fully open yet, and we happened to sit near the entryway. My wife was discussing getting a new tattoo with a pocket watch and wasn't sure what time to display. I said 6:30 is the best time, hands down. The people waiting to get in were laughing while the table missed it. They proceeded to tell the rest of us that they couldn't believe they didn't react. Because the stars are aligned. Contagious dad jokes. You are given the option to euthanize your pet when they get cancer. But you can't euthanize yourself if you get cancer. For pets, it's considered humane. That depends where you are. Some countries allow human euthanization, even for medical tourists. Not yet. We'd already be able to if it wasn't for religious people sticking their noses in. Depends on your country's laws. I'm definitely going to euthanize myself when the time like today or anything. Not with that attitude. Just wait till you learn what we're allowed to do to animals in factory farms. Depends what country you're in. You have no proof to yourself of when you were born. You just have to take everyone's word for it. Much of the world is just taking someone's word for it. How many things that you know do you actually prove yourself? I hate to be the one to tell you, but you were created yesterday and the memories you have were manufactured and just inserted. In fact, the entire universe was just created yesterday. And all of our memories have been artificially manufactured and inserted into our brains. Or not. Maybe you are not born at all. Not true. You have photos, birth certificate, verified government documents. Younger people might even have videos showing their day in the hospital where they were born. What's something that's really bad for the body but people keep doing it? Worrying about stuff I have no control over. Sitting without adequate exercise to counter it. The sedentary lifestyle. Laying in bed in front of a laptop or sitting at desk in front of a laptop. Smoking and drinking. Not sleeping enough. My Fitbit says I sleep an average of 6 hours 40 meters a night, which is more than 70 of users WTF. I am not sleeping enough, but you all are sleeping even less. Holding in your shit until you leave school.